It's time now for our Women's History Month Roundtable as we tap into the talented women who cover the NL East. And Abbey Mastracco, she's a Mets reporter with the New York Daily News. Hanna Yates, FanDuel Sports Network reporter covering the Braves. And Lochlahn March, the Phillies beat reporter with the Philadelphia Inquirer. So Abbey, I'm going to start with you. A huge signing this offseason with Juan Soto. How does he fit into the club? Or how has he fit into the club this spring?
He's fit in really well. The thing about Juan, I had a chance to sit down and talk to him the other day, and I asked what maybe Mets fans don't know about him that he would want them to know. And he said, I'm actually kind of shy. And I was talking to some guys in the clubhouse about him this year, and they were a little bit surprised given the way that he plays with such flair. And he's so dynamic and theatrical. But the Mets don't need him to be the guy. They have Francisco Lindor, they have Brandon Nimmo, Pete Alonso. They have a really good leadership group in terms of that. So what they want is Juan Soto to just be himself. And that means, hitting home runs. That means showing people how he works, being a leader by example. And really the message in the Mets clubhouse to everybody is be yourself. And that doesn't change with Juan Soto.
It's funny you say that, Abbey, because I've heard that Soto is a massive homebody. So, that's one thing that Juan and I have in common. Definitely not our bank accounts. Hanna, how are the Braves adjusting to their rotation with Spencer Strider continuing his rehab?
Yeah, well, let me start by saying how nice it was to have Spencer Strider and see him back on the mound producing the way that he was in spring training with his pair of appearances. Perfect 2 2/3 innings in that return to where he had a standing ovation from the crowd leaving the mound in his spring training game. So show where he's at physically and mentally, targeting right now a late April return. And in the meantime, you have a key rotation, which was significant for the Braves last season, playing a role in a lot of adversity that they had to push through at the plate. So you have it led by Chris Sale, of course, getting the start on opening day, and really just rightfully so, being that reigning NL Cy Young Award winner. It was a gift to cover what he did historically last season. Behind him in the 2 spot, you have Reynaldo Lopez, who wasn't necessarily a question mark heading into the season last year, but since he was transitioning from a bullpen role back into the starting rotation, you weren't sure how many innings he would be able to eat consistently and also maintain that velocity, which has really been a focus for him this spring. He did a solid job in doing so last season, so that's a focus entering this season as well. And then you have Spencer Schwellenbach, middle of the order, just a sensational rookie last season. He got the call up from Double-A, skips Triple-A Gwinnett, comes up, makes his MLB debut, and was fantastic. He entered with a 2 or 3 pitch arsenal and expanded to a 6 pitch arsenal by the end of the season. And his strikeout percentage rate has been absolutely fantastic this spring. So the sky's the limit if he continues to grow at that accelerated pace in which we saw last season. Behind him, we're likely going to see Grant Holmes, which is someone else who also made his MLB debut for the Braves last season out of the bullpen after grinding for 10 years, more than a decade in the minor leagues. And with all the injuries that we saw in the rotation, the bullpen, he got ample opportunity from a bridge situation as well as into the starting rotation. And when he was called upon, he answered that call. He has a 1.76 ERA this spring training, so he's been solid. And now there's that 5th spot. And that's been a large part of the conversation this offseason. But as of right now, it looks like A.J. Smith-Shawver, 22-year-old, going to earn that opportunity. There was that flux situation with Ian Anderson in the conversation as well prior to him being traded. So now it's looking like, not solidified and concrete announced by the organization, but looking like it's going to be A.J. Smith-Shawver, who really they're looking to see a lot of growth and maturity. Had the 1 start last season, afterwards has suffered an oblique injury, so he's ready to go. He's been pushing through, and they've seen a lot of growth from him this spring.
I know Braves fans were so excited after Strider's first outing of spring. They're like, Strider is back! It was like the headline everywhere, right? Lochlahn, I'm going to turn to you now. So the Phillies have reached 1 fewer round each year since winning the pennant in 2022. Did they do enough this offseason to support their veteran roster?
Yeah, I think it wasn't the flashiest of off seasons this year, especially compared to some winters in years past for the Phillies. They didn't sign a single free agent to a multi-year deal, but the moves that they did make are pretty interesting, especially the trade for Jesus Luzardo and signing Jordan Romano and Max Kepler to 1-year deals. Those 3 guys have something in common in that last year, their seasons were hampered by injuries. So they're coming out with something to prove this year, and the Phillies are betting on them being able to recapture the form from before they had their injuries. And all 3 of those guys had pretty strong showings this spring so far. Jordan Romano didn't allow a single earned run. Max Kepler, his power last year was kind of sapped by his hip and knee injury, but he's been hitting the ball really well. And Jesus Luzardo has been touching 98 with his fastball. His velocity is back up to what it was before he had the back injury, and he's been toying around with a new sweeper. So that should be interesting to see how that will help his arsenal this year. So they're just trying to improve on the margins with these guys, betting on them. And like you said, they have exited one round earlier every season. But they've also increased their regular season win total. So this is a team that won 95 games last year, and they're betting on these small additions, improving on the margins to be able to put things together at the end of the year.
No, I'm really excited to see what Jesus Luzardo does in Philly this year. Abby, I'm going to go back to you. A couple of big arms, including Sean Manaea. They're going to start the season on the IL. How have the Mets adjusted within their rotation to begin the season?
They're relying on their depth. This is what David Stern likes to do. He likes to send these guys to 1-2 year deals and then kind of like fix them, like projects, like Griffin Canning, Clay Holmes in a starting role now. He's looked really good this spring. They added some pitches for him with Griffin Canning. They sort of changed his pitch mix. He's not throwing his fastball quite as much, but he's got some really good movement on his pitches. And Tyler McGill is sort of the wild card here because he's had chances as a starter. He throws a lot of pitches, but he doesn't command all of them. And he is really looking to try and stick in the big leagues this year. And the Mets wanted to stick as well. He's a big guy, 6'7", throws hard, throws a lot of pitches. They're simplifying his pitch mix so that he can sequence a little bit better. I'm curious to see how this translates for him over the course of a season because, like I said, he hasn't stuck in the big leagues. There's also Paul Blackburn. They're going to start him in the bullpen and then take him out of the bullpen in early April and add a sixth starter into the rotation. Manaea should be back by late April, early May. He's throwing for about 90 feet right now. Montas is we're not entirely sure how long he's going to be out for. It doesn't sound like he has started any baseball activities yet. But the big thing for the Mets is sort of, addition, if you want to say, Kodai Senga is back. The Mets accomplished what they did last season without Senga. He was hurt the entire season. He made one start in July and then had to leave in the fifth or sixth inning, I believe, with a calf injury and then came back in the postseason. So Kodai's healthy this year. They want to see a full season of Kodai Senga and what he did 2 years ago when he was a Rookie of the Year finalist. But for now, the Mets are relying on their depth starters, and they're pretty confident that these guys are going to make an impact.
Hanna, while the Mets are awaiting some of their guys, the wait is almost over for Ronald Acuna Jr. What did his spring look like to you?
It's almost a sigh of relief. He had been around this spring, but obviously it's been a continued process of checking boxes. And so obviously this was very emotional. It was devastating when the team learned what had happened this past season. It's an injury that he suffered before on the opposite knee. And the conversation has been patience. And that's been exactly what we've seen throughout the offseason and the spring so far. Alex Anthopoulos has been very clear that this time they're going to take the time needed so that when Ronald is ready to return, he's ready to go to 100% rate. And so the last time that he returned, it was about 9 months stint in which he returned. And at that point, he said, maybe I returned a little bit too early. I was easing into it. You saw some DH situations with him as well. And that was something they wanted to avoid this year. They want him to be comfortable. They want him to be confident playing his style of game, which is, of course, intense, aggressive around the bases, all of the components that go into healing and strengthening that knee. And so I can tell you, he did the majority of his rehab on the West Coast, returned to Atlanta late last season to continue that. And just having him around that clubhouse on a daily basis, you can see the energy that it's provided this group. And so there's also been a lot of maturity with him as well from a mental standpoint. Brian Snitker pointed that out this spring of saying he's been so solid in his mentality, knowing that it's going to take time. It'll be around roughly a year when he returns, a little less because the target date right now is early May, mid-May at the latest, but that's the projected date. Obviously, they're going to be flexible to be patient with that. But I can tell this group is extremely excited to get him back into the lineup when he is ready to go.
You are so right about that, Hanna. When I was down in Florida, I did see Acuna out there, and that man was all smiles, and you could tell the positive energy that he's spreading to everyone around him. A really hot topic right now, Lochlahn, the top of the lineup for the Phillies. Rob Thompson said he could play with alternating Kyle Schwarber and Trey Turner in the leadoff spot. As we're looking toward opening day, though, how is that shaking out?
Yeah, like you said, this has been a hot topic ever since the end of last season, and I think it's going to continue to be a topic this year. Kyle Schwarber has been locked down the leadoff spot for the past 3 seasons, and he's had a lot of success there. He set an MLB record last year with 15 leadoff home runs, so it's kind of hard to walk away from that. But on the other hand, Trey Turner has also had a lot of success in the leadoff spot historically in his career, and he's a bit more of a traditional leadoff guy, can wreak some havoc on the base paths and make some stuff happen. And I think Rob Thompson thinks that moving Trey to the leadoff spot might be able to unlock something more in him. And so I think that's why he might get some more opportunities to start the year. Trey Turner's excited about it. He's happy to go back, and Kyle Schwarber is also happy to hit wherever. So I think there's going to be some different configurations. But like you said, Thompson is thinking of alternating with Trey leading off against lefties. And opening day, we're facing Mackenzie Gore, a lefty for the Nationals. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Trey get the first crack at it to start the year.
Abby, Hanna, Lochlahn, thanks for all the hard work you put in throughout the season, and best of luck this year. Thanks for dropping the knowledge.
And this from Jared Sandler. Evan Carter did not make the opening day roster, so it puts out that Leiter, Rocker, Duran, and that's Kevin Pillar, right? Yep. Have made the squad.
Yeah, he's got like a cat with 9 lives, doesn't he?
Yes. Carter is surprising, even that 2 years ago when they made the championship run, he looked like he was going to be part of the core of the next great Rangers run.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, though, he got pulled up from Double-A that year, and he got on quite a roll because he dominated the strike zone so much. He went into the season, got hurt very quickly with his back, missed the entire season, hardly got any at-bats last year. He had less than 200 at-bats. Didn't perform well when he actually was playing, and he had a rough spring. I just think it's a kid that they just want him to go out and get every day at-bats in center field and kind of get a reset to find his swing and approach again. I think he's lost it.
He's still a very young guy, but again, he had a 400 on base in the postseason. He had speed and elegance on the base path, so he just looked like such a winning player.
He looked like a young Christian Yelich to me playing in those games. And I do think he's going to get back, too. I think he'll be part of this team as the season goes on. He needs to play every day right now and find his approach.
The Rangers have so much stuff. In addition to Jacob deGrom, Jack Leiter, Kumar Rocker, your thoughts on those guys making the call?
Well, I tell you what's crazy is they were teammates and starting pitchers on the Vanderbilt squad, so now they're pitching together in rotation in the big leagues. Like, that never happens. I'm so happy where Jack is right now. I think he's evolved to really understand his art. Started throwing a two-seamer this year. He's using his changeup more, really turning into a pitcher. And Kumar, as I said earlier, it just comes down to health. His stuff is just dominant. He's got a wipeout slider. I mean, these two young men have a chance to settle into this rotation while they have injuries. They may never come out through this period of time.
Yeah, you know, with these guys, again, here's the projected rotation, which, again, there's high upside. There's high variance, but there's high upside. You put that with, I know Pacoda loves this club, right? Like Pacoda projection system. They have them at 90 wins. Do you think they bounce back with the moves that they've made?
I think they're going to win that division. Yeah, I do. I think their offense, I love the acquisition of Berger. I think it's a much more balanced offense. Hishigawa, I think, complements Heim, who had a really bad year last year. They got a young back who was hurt most of the year at third base last year. I think this was a year where everybody was hurt. Their issue is going to be if they can find a closer. Yeah. Right now, going into the season, they really don't have a closer.
Kyle Higashioka, also Jock Peterson. You mentioned
Jock Peterson, I forgot.
Like, the kind of smaller moves, but all good players. But again, you add them all up, you're quite a good club.